Fora TV. The world is thinking.
There is an asteroid discovered in December 2004 called Apophis, named for the Egyptian god of death and darkness. It was named only after its trajectory was identified to intersect that of Earth. Had that not been the case, we would not have named it Apophis. Could name it like Tiffany or something, or Bambi, something not threatening. This one was headed towards Earth, Apophis. All right, once you discover an asteroid, you gotta wait a little while to get enough of a segment of its orbit to calculate what the full orbit will be to know if it will come in harm's way. So, we did that. We, the community. I wasn't the one. We got peeps who do this, okay? So, peeps, if you're over 30, means people, okay? Forgive me. If I say you got peeps, it's people. It's actually a loving phrase, right?
It's not little yellow marshmallow.
They're not,
No.
Right. So, we get the orbit. Turns out, in the year 2029, the month of April, the 13th of April, a Friday, Apophis will come so close to Earth that it will dip below our orbiting communication satellites. And it is the size of the Rose Bowl. It'll be the largest, closest thing we have ever observed to come by Earth. Now, of course, a much bigger asteroid took out the dinosaurs, but we weren't around at the time. So this is in the era of observing the cosmos with technology. This will be the closest, biggest thing we'll ever see come by. Now, the orbit we now have for it is uncertain enough, because these things are hard to measure and hard to get an exact distance for. The orbit is uncertain enough, so we cannot tell you exactly where that trajectory will be. We know it won't hit Earth. We know it'll be closer than the orbiting satellites. There is a range, a 600-mile zone. We call it the keyhole. If the asteroid goes through the middle of that keyhole, it will hit the Earth 13 years later. It will hit the Earth. 500 kilometers due west of Santa Monica.
So it doesn't matter where it goes through that keyhole.
Now, that's if it goes through the center. If it goes through other places within that keyhole, then the contact point shifts further into the Pacific or closer towards North America.
Or something, yeah.
Yes, okay? But if it goes through the center, it hits the Pacific Ocean, plunges down into the Pacific to a depth of 3 miles, at which point it explodes, cavitating the Pacific in a hole that's 3 miles wide, 3 miles deep. That will send a tsunami wave outward from that location. That's 50 feet high, 5 stories. Oceans don't like having holes in them. So, this 3 mile high wall does what? You say that so timidly, sir. Collapses. It's a 3 mile high wall of water. Thank you. Falls back into the hole, sloshing against itself with such ferocity that it rises high into the atmosphere and falls back down to the ocean, cavitating the ocean again. So now you make a cavity a second time. This cycle takes about 50 seconds. You can calculate it, okay? So here comes the first tsunami, and 50 seconds later comes another tsunami. So there you are on the beaches of Malibu, tsunami comes in. Now, unlike the tsunami in Indonesia, which was one wave that went deep into the shore, this first wave needs a supply of water to exist, so that the next wave actually sucks back on it to create itself. So, this tsunami will only go in about a quarter of a mile. We have the sound effects person in the upper row there. So it only goes in a quarter mile before it gets sucked back out for the next wave to come. Here's the problem. Whatever was there on the coastline is now brought back out to sea. And the next tsunami brings it back to the shore. All the million-dollar homes in Malibu, they get taken out to the sea and then back. But this time they're in a slightly different shape, okay? And so what happens is all the artificial stuff, all the houses, the factories, they get churned into this ablative force that sandblasts the entire west coast of North America clean. So have a nice day for that.
But this big school. So
I'm sorry, I said 13 years after 2020. I misspoke. It's April 13th, 2029, and if it threads the keel, it will hit Earth April 13th, 2036. So it's a 7-year.
I've heard you talk about Apophis. Now, we just talked about smaller asteroids,
House-sized asteroids.
house-sized asteroids, hitting the atmosphere, some if they are metal.
Oh, by the way, I don't mean like Bill Gates-sized houses. They're like regular people
Houses.
Yeah.
But they would, some would break up, some being more bound tightly, or being more tightly bound would continue on.
Yes.
Now, with that in mind, how big would an asteroid like Apophis be? And since these house-sized asteroids would not wipe out Earth, what would be an extinction-level event?
Ooh. Apophis, we know how big Apophis is.
Oh, we do.
So it's not how big Apophis would be, it's how big is it. It's about 300 meters across, and if you sort of measure that out with a corresponding sizes of structures, it's about the size of the fully open Rose Bowl in Pasadena. So the field plus all the seats, that would plunk nicely into that like an egg sits in an egg cup. Yeah. So that would, if that hits, it would, the most likely place it would hit would be the Pacific Ocean, and it would raise a 50-foot tsunami that would wipe clean the west coast of North America. Have a nice day. That's okay. But no one has to die because we would predict when this happens. We would know it. This is the good thing about the laws of physics. You can predict the future.
Nice.
Right, in ways that protect your life. Extend your life expectancy.
Well, we can't say no one would die because there would be at least a handful of surfers who would say,
stupid surfers.
dude, I gotta do it.
Stupid surfers and stupid cameramen, no, stupid weathermen, right, who are trying to get the camera guy too close to the surf.
Exactly.
2 dead people in that. So you clear out the west coast and then you watch it happen, and it could be quite a spectacle. So that's not extinction level either. It's just very damaging. It would do $1 trillion worth of damage. We know the size of an asteroid that would do very bad things, and it's about 1 kilometer across, a little more than a half a mile across. That size asteroid would disrupt civilization.
Gotcha.
No, it won't leave us extinct, but it could disrupt the food chain, the transportation channels, things that we rely on for modern living.
Apocalypse.
Yes, so we would need to rebuild what our modern culture of human life on Earth would be.
And that would be about 1 kilometer.
About 1 kilometer across, right. And you get to 10 kilometers, then you've got, at 10 kilometer size, you've got extinction level asteroid.
And how big would the asteroid have been for the dinosaurs?
Dinosaur was about the size of Mount Everest. Yeah, so that's about 10 kilometers.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, now that's much smaller than Earth. And in the old days, we thought it would just leave a crater, and you were just unlucky enough to be where the crater hit.
Right.
But we learned that the stuff it thrusts into the atmosphere blocks the sun, cloaks the Earth, knocks out the base of the food chain because photosynthesis can't unfold,
right.
and a wave of extinction percolates across the tree of life.
There you go. People have a nice day.